Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into India's 2026-27 Union Budget. Now, this isn't just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. Think of it more like a roadmap for the country's future. And we're going to break down exactly what it means for the economy and, for you. In that quote from the finance minister, it really captures the whole spirit of this thing. The budget is being presented not just as a financial statement for the year, but as one more confident step towards a really big, long-term vision for the whole country. So what is this vision we're talking about? Well, it's called Viksit Bharat, and the goal is pretty ambitious, to transform India into a fully developed nation by the year 2047. Why 2047? That'll be the 100th anniversary of its independence. So it's a huge milestone they're aiming for. Okay, so to make sense of all this, we've broken it down into 6 key parts. We'll start with that big vision for 2047, then get into the 3 guiding duties, how they're planning to power up the economy, invest in people, what's changing with your taxes, and finally, we'll look at the path ahead. All right, first up, that vision for 2047. You really have to understand this because the entire budget is anchored in this one powerful idea of a developed India. It's kind of like the North Star for everything else we're about to talk about. All the policies, all the spending, it all points back to this. Okay, so how do you actually achieve a vision that big? Well, the government has laid out a framework built on 3 core principles. They're calling them the 3 Kartavya, which basically translates to the 3 duties. And these 3 duties, they're the strategic backbone of the entire budget. It boils down to this. 1, rev up the economy. 2, help people reach their full potential. And 3, make sure everyone gets a piece of the pie. That development is inclusive. Pretty much every major announcement we'll see is tied to one of these 3 ideas. So let's get into that first duty, powering up the economy. How are they going to accelerate growth? Well, it's all about pouring money into the core engines of the economy. We're talking targeted investments to seriously boost productivity and manufacturing. And they're using this really cool metaphor for it, the Reform Express. The idea here is to send a clear signal that the pace of economic reforms isn't slowing down. In fact, it's full steam ahead, keeping that momentum going to power the economy forward. And every train needs fuel, right? Well, here it is. A massive investment of 12.2 lakh crore in what's called capital expenditure. A huge chunk of that is going straight into building up the country's infrastructure. Roads, bridges, you name it. But here's the really strategic part. This isn't just about spending a ton of money. It's about investing it smartly. The whole goal is to build up India's own manufacturing muscle, especially in those key industries that are going to shape the future. And here they are, the 7 strategic sectors getting the focus. We're talking everything from biopharma to semiconductors. I mean, these are the industries that are absolutely critical for the future. The big idea is to make India more self-reliant, to stop depending on imports for this stuff, and basically build the industries of tomorrow right here, right now. Okay, so that covers the economy's engine. Now let's shift to that second duty, investing in people's potential. Because, look, a developed economy is nothing without a skilled workforce, right? The budget gets that. So there's a huge emphasis on investing in skills and jobs, especially for India's massive young population. And the focus here is on creating real career paths in some seriously high-growth areas. I mean, just look at these numbers. They're planning to train 100,000 new health professionals and 150,000 caregivers. But this is what I find really interesting. They're targeting the orange economy, the creative sector. They're putting gaming and animation labs in 15,000 schools. That's a huge push to get the next generation ready for one of the fastest growing industries on the planet. This is all about getting the workforce ready for the jobs of tomorrow, not just the jobs of today. Okay, now for the part I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for. Changes to your taxes. How does all of this actually affect your wallet? Well, the government has rolled out a few changes aimed at making life a little easier for taxpayers. So what's the bottom line for your bank account? Well, it's a series of targeted changes designed to make filing your taxes less of a headache and, in certain cases, leave a little more cash in your pocket. Okay, one of the biggest changes is with something called tax collected at source, or TCS. Let's just look at the table here. If you're planning a trip overseas, the tax on those tour packages is dropping to a simple, flat 2%. That's a big change. And if you're sending money abroad for education or medical bills, that rate is getting slashed from 5% down to 2%. That's a pretty significant bit of relief for a lot of families.
And it's not just about TCS. There are a few other bits of relief in here too. For instance, any interest you get from a motor accident claim is now tax exempt. They're also giving you more time to file a revised return, which is always helpful. And for small taxpayers, getting a certificate for a lower tax deduction is going to be an automated process now. Just small things that should make life a little easier.
All right, finally, let's zoom all the way out and look at the path ahead, specifically the country's overall financial health. Because at the end of the day, you can have the most ambitious roadmap in the world, but it's got to be built on a solid financial foundation.
And the number to watch here is the fiscal deficit target. The government is aiming for 4.3% of GDP for the 2026-27 financial year.
Now, why is that 4.3% number such a big deal? It shows a real commitment to something called fiscal consolidation. The easiest way to think about it is like a household getting its credit card debt under control. It means the government is planning to borrow less and be more responsible with its finances. And that is absolutely crucial for long-term economic stability and for making sure investors stay confident in the Indian economy.
So there you have it, a really clear vision and a detailed plan, all the way from the huge mission of a Viksit Bharat down to the nitty-gritty of tax relief. But it leaves us with one big question, right? With this whole roadmap laid out on paper, what's the biggest challenge India's going to face in turning these aspirations into an actual reality for more than 1 billion people?